Hello, give me 1 second here, trying to work through some technical difficulties. Um, okay. Apologize for the delay. The Eric Holsinger, our presenter for the day, um, having a little technical difficulties getting into this session, so bear with us for a few more minutes. We'll get hopefully get everything on off and going. Appreciate you all coming out and joining for this session. Here he is. Hey.
All right, sorry about the technical issue there.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Might take another minute as Eric's getting set up here, but welcome to this month's Lunch and Learn. The topic for this month is Cloud Monitoring Console, so the Splunk Cloud. We appreciate your time. We hope that you'll be able to come away from this session understanding a little more about cloud monitoring and what capabilities exist there. Eric Holsinger, who is a Splunk architect and a member of our customer experience team. Our customer experience team delivers Splunk expertise to our customers and supports our Atlas product. So with that, Eric, I am going to pass it over to you if you're ready.
All right, I am all good to go. Thanks for the intro, Steve. So like he mentioned, today we are going to cover the Splunk Cloud Monitoring Console. And with that, we can go ahead and jump into, get one last thing set up on my right side here. There we go. Today's agenda. So we're going to cover the introduction to Cloud Monitoring Console. We're going to do an overview of the console and its different functions. And kind of within the overview, we're also going to be doing some demos of the actual monitoring console itself. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into Intro to Cloud Monitoring Console. So what is the, I'm going to call it the CMC from now on. That's the general vernacular that Splunk uses for the Cloud Monitoring Console. So what is the CMC? It is a powerful web-based monitoring tool for Splunk Cloud deployments. It provides a comprehensive view of the health and performance of Splunk Cloud environments, and it also allows a visibility into license and SVC usage, indexing performance, search performance, and more. So if you are used to any kind of Splunk enterprise environment, you know the monitoring console is kind of your one-stop shop for admins to get an idea of how their environment's doing, if there's any issues they need to start tackling. This is the same concept, but it's specifically made for cloud environments. So what does it help with? It can help you identify license usage issues, such as exceeding license quotas daily, or if you're using SVCs, you can look at SVC overages as well. You get insight into search issues within the environment. You have the ability to set alerts to track condition of the environment daily, and you can track daily user activity within the environment. And so we'll hop right into the overview. And so this is, like I mentioned, I'm going to kind of jump back and forth between the PowerPoint and the actual Cloud Monitoring Console itself. But first, we're going to look at the navigation bar. So this is kind of how the CMC is split up and kind of how we're going to navigate it through our demo. So we're going to start with overview, then go to health, maintenance, alerts, indexing, search, usage, license usage, forwarders, and then workload management monitoring. And each tab on the bar provides insight to a different aspect of the Splunk Cloud environment. Many categories have subcategories under them. So you'll see indexing, search, usage, license usage, and forwarders. All of those have the little downward caret. That means there are multiple dashboards relevant to that topic. And we're not going to go over every single dashboard within the CMC today. So if you have access to it, definitely recommend in your own environment going through all of the dashboards, seeing what kind of information they offer you. All right, and to start out, we are going to look at the overview dashboard. So this provides a collection of panels providing a summary of environmental health. You'll get info about current users, ingest, searches, data parsing issues, and more. And it is a great place to start to get an idea of potential issues so that you can dive deeper in to troubleshooting and remediation using that information. So I'm going to go ahead and hop over to my actual environment here. And so this is the CMC. To get there, I went to Apps, Cloud Monitoring Console. We'll go ahead and refresh this page. It will automatically bring us to the overview page. So like I mentioned, this is a great place to start to get an overall idea of kind of surface level knowledge of how your environment's doing at this current moment. So you see we have our active users, we have search counts, indexes, searches by type, throughput by index, any kind of long running searches, any kind of skipped scheduled searches. So like I mentioned, very good place to start. Find things that you might want to dig down into a little bit deeper. And one thing I'll point out that a number of pages within the CMC point out that if you have any kind of direct modification of any page within the CMC, it disables the automatic update functionality. So say that you wanted a slightly different view of average daily users over the last 7 days and you wanted to edit this panel, we recommend go ahead and take that search, create a new dashboard, and make that edited search live in that dashboard rather than editing the CMC just to make sure that you have those automatic updates. You have the essentially latest and greatest version of the CMC. So that is, for a lack of a better phrase, an overview of the overview page. We can hop back over here. So next we are going to look at the health dashboard. And this dashboard shows key health indicators about the overall health of your environment. It updates every 3 hours, and it provides actions or recommendations that you can make to tackle problems within your environment. So if we hop back over to the environment itself, we're going to go ahead and click on this second tab. That is our health tab. It's going to bring us to this nice dark mode page here. And as you can see, it gives us our overall health warnings. We have 2 critical. So essentially it splits it out between green, yellow, and red. Green is conforming, yellow is warning, and red is critical. We have our overall health. We have it split between data indexing and data search. So you can see we have 1 critical for each. Overall health, we have 2 critical. Data collection, though, is all healthy. And then we have our indicators below. So you can see we have a couple of different things. We have 2 data collections, 1 data indexing, and 3 data search categories of health alerts here. So if we go ahead and look at one that has red, we can see this is one that is skipped search percentage. So it's looking for searches that have a high percentage of skips. And you can see over here, we can configure this to alert. So any alert action you normally take within Splunk is available here. Right now we have all of them turned off, as you can tell by the bell with the line through it. If we had alerts set up for this so that we wanted to say emails, something like that, if one of these goes off, this bell would not have the line through it. So if we go ahead and click this caret beside skip search percentage, it's going to give us a summary. So you can see it's evaluating the skip searches. Critical is if it's skipping more than 25%. Warning is more than 10%, less than 25. And then we have our suggested action, but we're going to go ahead and click view details. We'll get a little bit more in-depth data here. It's going to reload this page with a drill down view of just the skipped search percentage. So you can see all the searches in our environment here. We're able to see the status of each one. And as you know, we had one that was critical. And if we click that, we get a little bit more information. And so this is saying that this search is skipping 100% of the time, and it gives us a recommended action and more information. So the recommended action is kind of a generalized next steps that you might want to look at. In this particular case on this search, I know it is not due to the searches executing at the same time or concurrency issues. This is actually a macro issue. So this is not technically correct, but overall it is a great first step to take if you're looking to remediate some of these issues. And then under the more information, you can jump right to that skip searches dashboard, and you can get that more information that you need. So this is a great place to look at very specific items within your environment that Splunk is saying you might want to look at. This is a potential concern, and you get some recommended actions. Not 100% correct all the time, but definitely great first steps to take if you're not sure where to start. And so we're going to jump back to the PowerPoint real quick here. If it lets me scroll down. Next, we're going to look at the maintenance dashboard. So this is a pretty simple dashboard that shows upcoming and past maintenance windows for Splunk initiated changes. It updates the statuses once a day, and it allows you to help plan around any potential outages. So with Splunk Cloud environments, you're going to have Splunk upgrading your environment for you. And so they want to warn you and let you say, as you can see here, it's warning us that we're going to have a service update on the 19th of February. It'll take about 3 hours. And so it's tentative. It's not confirmed yet, but they want to give us a heads up to make sure that if we have anything important going on, we know that this maintenance window is coming up and we need to be prepared for it. And that one is an upcoming one. We can also see our past ones. So you can see this one happened on October 17th. The duration was 3 hours and it was completed. So it's a very simple dashboard, but it's very important to know when your environment's being upgraded, when there might be potential downtime, and how to plan around that. And you can actually configure a global banner so you can let the entire environment, anyone using it, know that this service update's upcoming. Be on the lookout for that. All right. Then we can hop on over to the alerts dashboard. So this shows configured and triggered alerts. So alerts that are triggered in the last 4 hours will show in the triggered alerts tab. It comes with pre-configured alerts that can be edited, but only to a limited degree, which I'll show you. And you can also add new alerts from the searches, reports, and alerts page. So if we hop back on over to the alerts page here, you can say it's going to take us to the alerts, triggered alerts page. We don't have any triggered alerts to display, but if we did, they would be in here waiting for us. But on configured alerts, you can see that these are the alerts that come with the CMC app. You can see we have a number of different things: bucket size, high memory searches, ingest volume issues, skip searches, anything like that. These come pre-configured, so you can enable them if you want, or you can go ahead and edit these. So say we wanted to edit this one. It's going to open up a new page for us. It will take us to this alert page. We can see some information here. And then in terms of editing, we can change the cron schedule. We can change the alert actions. So right now it's just triggered to go to alerts. We can send an email. We can run a script, anything we want to do. If this alert triggers, we can go ahead and set those actions up here. And so if we wanted to add our own alert, If we're on the alerts page here, we go ahead and go to settings, open up searches, reports, and alerts. It will open up this page for us. On the top right, we'll have a button that says New Alert. If we go ahead and click that, it will create a new search for us with the app of the Cloud Monitoring Console as the app context. So if we create a little alert here, we can enter our SPL, we can enter our cron schedule, alert actions, etc. And then we can manage that alert from this page here. So it's a great way to expand upon the pre-configured searches that the Cloud Monitoring Console provides you for things that are a little bit more specific to your environment. So definitely recommend checking out alerts, creating your own if you need to. So then we're going to move on to indexing dashboards. So this is our first set that has multiple dashboards within the same section. And these dashboards help you review indexes, including performance, data consumption, and storage capacity. And you can dig deeper into information about indexes like events, indexing rates of specific indexes. You're also able to monitor HTTP event collector tokens and assess quality of data by tracking parsing errors of the data coming in. So we're going to hop back right on over here. We're going to look at a couple of these dashboards here, starting with indexing performance. And that is good to point out that, like I said, I click index. We have, let's see, 4 dashboards under here. And again, search, 4 dashboards, usage 2, license usage 6, forwarders 4. So any ones that have these down carrots, definitely check it out and look at all the dashboards you have to offer. So indexing performance is all about an overview of how your indexes are doing and the data coming in. So you have your indexing throughput, you have your estimated indexing rate, you have any kind of queue fill ratio issues, TCP port closure issues, or if your index or queues are blocked. So if you have data that's not coming in the way you expect it to, definitely want to check this out, make sure that your indexes aren't blocked, that data is flowing smoothly and freely the way you want it to. Next, under indexing, we're going to check out index detail. And this is a good place to dive deep into specific indexes with information that you might be interested in. So we're going to go ahead and just jump to O365. So say we wanted a little bit more information on this specific index. You can see it'll show us our uncompressed raw data size, total bucket count, event count, earliest and latest event. So if you have an index that is not reporting in the way you expect it to, definitely want to check the latest event, make sure that it's current like you expect it to. And if it's not, then you can start diving in and start that investigation and remediation process. And then we have our throughput. Make sure it's flowing. By nature of this testing environment, it's a little choppy, as you can see, but that's to be expected for our environment. But you're able to split by host, source, or source type. So for example, if we split by source type, let's actually source, maybe a little bit more interesting. Yeah, for the most part, we're going to have other here, but you're able to really split that throughput by different sections, different ways. So you get a good idea of what was coming in when, if it stopped, what you might need to investigate and remediate from there. So the last dashboard we're going to check out under indexing is data quality. And so this is all about parsing issues within your environment. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out to the last 30 days so I can get some information here. And so it's looking at our source types and looking for line breaking issues, timestamp parsing issues, or aggregation issues. So if we go ahead and say this Azure audit, it's 84 issues. If we click that source type name here, it's going to open up a different panel down here. We click that source. It's going to give us some more information about event size, event line count, event time disparity. And a very useful thing that Splunk offers here is this Learn More button click. And if we go ahead and press that button, it'll take us to some documentation about data quality issues. So as you can see, this particular event has a lot of line breaking issues. In this page here, we have our line breaking issues, and we have remediation or investigation and remediation steps right here in the documentation. So definitely, if you're having issues with the data, it's coming in, but it's not necessarily in the format that you expect. If you're having line breaking issues, the timestamps aren't right, anything like that, definitely recommend digging in on this dashboard here, checking out that information on the Splunk documentation page, and getting that resolved as quickly as possible. All right, we can hop back on over here. And next we're going to look at the search dashboards. So these review searches that have run, or are running, and which users are running those searches. They can pinpoint troublesome searches that may be causing performance issues, and you can investigate skip searches and expensive searches. Essentially, expensive searches are ones that run for a long time, which means that they're using resources over a long period of time. And the more resources you use, the more likely searches have to run against one another and that potential to skip. So if we look at our search tab here, you can see we have search usage statistics, scheduler activity, skipped scheduled searches, and expensive searches. So we are going to look at search usage statistics here. All right, let me get my mouse back on my screen. There we go. And so this is a really good page to see what kind of searches are taking up the most resources. So you're going to see over the last 4 hours in this environment, 4,000 searches have finished. Let's say 4,034 searches have finished. 3,996 were successful, which means 38 were unsuccessful. Total search runtime over the last 4 hours is 2 hours and 44 minutes. And then we're able to split our searches here. So this is the number of searches over time. So you can see what kind of searches are taking up, are running the most, essentially. So it's going to split out by acceleration, data model acceleration, essentially, ad hoc searches, dashboard searches, other, scheduled, sub-searches, and summarization. So you can see in this environment, all the search types are pretty constant across time. We do have the occasional sub-search that go a little bit higher than others, but you can imagine if you're having performance issues within your environment, if you look at this page, you're able to really see maybe at this time there was a huge spike in acceleration searches, or at this time there was a spike in scheduled searches. You're able to see what searches are being run when, and be able to help start that investigation, pinpoint where there might be some issues with certain types of searches. If we scroll down a little bit more, we're going to have search activity by search type. So it's a lot of the same information up here, but we're also going to have the median runtime and cumulative runtime. So all of these searches, the highest median runtime is acceleration searches at just under 3.5 seconds. It's the highest median runtime in this environment. Overall, a pretty low median runtime. Cumulative runtimes just showing not only is this running the most number of searches as expected, it's also has the most cumulative runtime. So it's a good idea to see not only the search count, how long they run on average. If you're going to have some scheduled searches that run a long time, you might really bump this average up, and you know, I need to check out my scheduled searches, see what's going on there. Next, we're going to check out scheduler activity. And so this is a highly detailed look at searches scheduled and performance information. And so this will give you kind of a detailed high-level view of the searches within your environment. So you're going to have your skipped ratio. You're going to have your average execution latency, essentially how long it takes the searches to run compared to when they're supposed to run. You have your executions detail, your completed versus skipped, and percentage of those totals. you have your scheduler executions. So if you have your completed and your skipped, as you can see in this environment, the skipped are pretty standard, pretty uniform. But if you have trouble with skipped searches, you may have some that spike at certain times of the day, and you're able to kind of identify when to look for issues, what kind of concurrency issues might be happening at those particular times of the day. And then we have a little bit more statistics here about report completions. And then we have our scheduler errors and warnings. Always good to know if you're having issues with your searches, what those issues are. And as you can see, we're going to dig into this a little bit more in the next dashboard, but the search error and warning that we have here is all about this search that is skipping. And it's saying that the macro name is misspelled, most likely, or it has not been shared with this application. So it can't run that search because it's trying to run a macro that it just doesn't know about. And you can see we have a little bit more information here. Median concurrency and execution latency split out by app, user, role, or report name. So if we want to look at concurrency, aka how often searches are scheduled alongside one of another, you can see, as with most environments, the top of the hour and the bottom of the hour, we're going to have those little bit of spikes, just because that's a common way to schedule cron schedules. So if we notice these spikes, it's always good to get this as leveled out as possible. More concurrency equals more chance of searches skipping. So it's a good way to look at that, either by app, user, role, or report name. And on the last one I'm going to show under search is going to be skipped scheduled searches. And so skipped searches are a big issue that you want to look into. Every search that skips is a potential to miss something important in your environment. Excuse me. So you can see in this environment, we have 28 total search skips. That accounts for 2.88% of our searches. And as we know, this is going to be from one search, and it's going to be because of that macro issue. And so it's going to basically tell us that a couple different times, just because we have that one search that's skipping. But this is an incredibly important page to get that detailed information about your skip searches, when they're happening, why they're happening, what percentage of your total searches is that affecting, so you can really get those problems taken care of as soon as possible and make sure you do not have any event loss, any kind of blind eye towards something that might be important in your environment. So at some point, I'm going to stop clicking the wrong thing, and we'll go back to the PowerPoint here. And so the usage dashboards are all about users in your environment. You can audit specific users, or you can see overall user activity and the associated app usage. So here, we're just going to check out one, and that's going to be user activity. And user activity is a great way to track user behavior across the environment. You're able to see which apps are used compared to ones that aren't used as much, and you're able to see kind of activity by individual dashboard. So you can see in the last 4 hours, we have 3 distinct users using 4 distinct apps and a total of 29 page views. And essentially here, page views are, you can kind of think of them as different dashboards. So for example, if we go to search and we were at search scheduler activity, that scheduler activity is considered a page within the CMC app. And so you can see we have our page views. We can sort by app, user, or page. You can see our Splunk instance monitoring, aka the CMC that we're using right now, is going to be our most used app. But you can also see we have a couple other ones that have been used. We have our app access over time, and then we have our activity by page. So this is a good way to see which apps and which pages get the most use within your environment. But more importantly, potentially, is which apps and pages aren't getting much use in your environment. Is that because they're not needed? Is that because they're not valuable enough? And you can kind of go from there and see if there's any way you can improve those pages, improve those searches, make them a little bit more useful for your users. And then we can hop right along to license usage dashboards. And so this can help you review license and or SVC usage in your Splunk Cloud environment. They can also be used to track searchable and archive storage usage. You can break this down on an index level to investigate storage retention policies. So I will go ahead and hop on over to license usage. We're going to view a couple pages here. We're going to start with entitlements. So like I said, this is a testing environment. So we are technically on ingest license. It's going to say 0 there. It's just a nature of our testing environment. But your actual, if you're using ingest, your actual value will be here. The searchable storage entitlement is going to be 500 gigabytes for us. Definitely important to know so that you don't go over that value, which we'll kind of dive into a little bit more. And then archive storage is something optional that you can buy for long-term storage within Splunk Cloud. We do not have that in this environment, but if you did, it would tell you the amount right here. So if we go ahead and hop into ingest, this will be for environments that use ingest-based licensing, aka how much data you're bringing in each day. It would have your total allotment here, and then you have your daily license usage summary. So you're able to see how much per day of license you're using. So if you, for example, in this environment, if we had a 0.1 gigabyte license, we'd have a line right here, and we could see that on February 1st, we went over that license. So we definitely want to check out what happened that day, why that happened. If you're consistently going over your license usage, kind of investigate what is taking up that data. Is there something that you can scale back on? Do you need a license increase? So this is an important page if you're running into license issues and to keep yourself from running into license issues. However, if you're using SVCs, which I know a lot of Splunk Cloud users do, you're going to want to check out the license usage workload page. It's going to give you a lot of detailed information about SVCs. They are a bit of a complex concept that is not always the most well-defined, but this page really gives you a lot of insight into how it's being used. So you're going to see your peak SVC usage. You're going to see your peak SVC usage as a percentage per tier. So when we have our index tier and search head tier, split by process. So you can say shared services is kind of taking up the most SVCs right now. But for example, if this was ingestion was taking up a vast quantity of SVCs, definitely want to investigate that. Why is that happening? What can we do to reduce that to kind of get our SVCs under control? Search processes also use SVCs. So definitely want to see what kind of usage within our searches are causing, what kind of searches are causing SVC usage. So as you can see here, we have a lot of scheduled searches is overwhelmingly what uses SVCs. And again, we're not an SVC in or workload-based licensing on this environment, but it still gives us that information. So it's also great if you're starting with ingest license, you're considering switching to SVCs, you're able to see kind of what kind of SVCs you would be using, how you're using it currently in case you wanted to make that switch. And then as you can see, just more information about SVC usage. So we have our searches, then down here we have our indexing process, and then the ingestion. So a lot of very, very useful information about SVCs. And then finally, I'm just going to hop over to searchable storage. So this is the storage within your Splunk Cloud environment that you're actively going to be searching on. So it's something that you want to keep an eye on, make sure you're not going over that limit. So right now you can see our entitlement in this environment is 500 gigabytes. Over the last 25 hours, we've used 2.24, so we are very good. No chance of overages anytime soon there. But definitely want to see that if we were, you're able to see the searchable storage by indexes and then kind of a more detailed index information here. So if we sort by index size, you can see right now our summary index is using the most index size. Second is 0365. But more importantly, we have our storage retention days. So on high volume data sources, the longer that information is stored, the more searchable storage you're going to be taking up. So definitely want to take a look at the amount of index size, the amount of space those indexes are taking up, but also that retention period. If it can be decreased, might not be a bad idea to decrease it if that's possible, if you're running into storage issues. So definitely check out this page. It's very helpful information. And then we can move right on over here. So we do have forwarder information here. This environment in particular does not have any forwarders communicating with it, but definitely recommend checking it out. If you do, you'll get things like OS type, throughput per forwarder, and make sure that your forwarders are reporting in. It'll give you kind of a list of forwarders that haven't reported in recently, and you can kind of get an idea of what you might need to do to get those forwarders communicating back again. And finally, we're going to look a bit at workload management monitoring dashboard. So this reviews triggered workload management rules, and I'm going to show you the general setup here. Workload management's a bit of a larger topic that I won't dig in too deeply on this Lunch and Learn, but I'll show it pretty briefly here. So if we go ahead and click here, you can see that we have some workload management rules set up. If you don't have any rules set up, these will all be zeros, and that's all you'll get. And you can always click use this, the workload management button. It will bring you here so you can set up rules. So essentially, workload management is looking at setting up rules within your environment for your users so that things like, for example, this one is if you try to search a search range of all time, it's going to go ahead and say, we're going to filter that search out. We're going to give you a user message that says no all-time searching. Please use this more specific time window. Really help your environment not get bogged down with potentially poor SPL searches or poor time ranges. See this workload rule here, no real-time searches. So if you try to run a search in real time, which in Splunk uses a lot of resources because it's going to be constantly running that search at all times, we're going to go ahead and say, we're going to abort that search and no search for you. So go ahead and use something that is not real-time search. And so within this environment, and under workload management monitoring, anytime one of those rules are set off, it's going to give you information about it on this page. So you can see we have 44 searches filtered. And you can see we have our filter here. And then you can see this searches, scheduled searches that are triggering these alerts. We can get a little bit more information. If we click on it, it'll take us to that search. So we can say, what is this search doing? Does it really need to run the way that it's running? And it's just kind of giving you a idea of making sure that your workload rules are working the way you expect them to, and that searches are filtered the way that you want them to, just to really increase that environmental awareness and performance that comes with setting up workload management rules. Again, you can split by rule, action, user, search type. So if we split by rule here, you can see it's all no all-time searches. And that is the basics of workload management monitoring. And that is the introduction to Cloud Monitoring Console overall. So a couple months ago, we had a Lunch and Learn on Monitoring Console, the one that comes with Splunk Enterprise. Definitely check that out if you're using Splunk Enterprise. But they are pretty similar in concept, but in practice, they offer different information. Splunk Enterprise, obviously, you have to worry a lot more about search heads and on-prem environments. So you get a lot more detailed information about that. For Splunk Cloud, Splunk is handling a lot of that infrastructure for you. So you can really nail and drill down on searches, indexing, and users within Splunk Cloud Monitoring Console. So definitely recommend checking one or the other out if you're not used to them. And hopefully has provided some information and some ideas on how to go about that and things that you can use the monitoring console for. So before I wrap up here, I want to go ahead and just point out that recommend checking out last month's webinar. Our own Brett Woodruff put it on. It's on Splunk macros. We ran into an issue here with our own environment on a search that was running into macro issues. So it can cause search skips if they're not used correctly, but they can also be incredibly beneficial and helpful if they are used correctly. So definitely recommend checking out that webinar. And overall, I can take any questions, comments that you have now. I can toss it back over to Steve.
Thank you, Eric. I dropped the link into the chat for the next month's Lunch and Learn, as well as last month's Lunch and Learn. If you're interested, you can watch last month's on demand. So it's there and available. So yeah, thank you, Eric, for the information you presented here for the monitoring console. If anybody has any questions, I'd mentioned earlier about the service that Eric provides is called Expertise on Demand. That's kind of a phone a friend service. It's kind of sits between the professional services and technical support. That also, we have a product. We've used Splunk as a journey, as you've used Splunk for any length of time. It can be very much a journey. So we have created a product called Atlas, and it helps to kind of monitor and work on or look at Splunk's best practices. So bring some unique insights into your Splunk environment. So if you have an interest, please reach out, and we'd be happy to walk you through that. So again, thank you for your time. I don't see any questions popping up. So appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody, for joining.